Okay, I've poured some into this measuring cup to make it a little bit easier to fill the bottles. And I've got a little funnel here that fits in the bottles, so let's start filling them. And there is our first bottle of hot sauce. Well, today is the day we finish up picking our New Mexican chili peppers to start our hot sauce. There are a bunch to pick, and it's morning, and I want to get them picked in the morning before it gets too hot, because it's supposed to get 98 degrees today. Okay, let's start picking these. They're pulling right off because I think that they're plenty ripe. And we'll collect all of the red ones today, and then we'll start on our hot sauce. We'll have plenty of peppers. So I already have a gallon and a half of them in the freezer. And I've seen that you can freeze them and then make hot sauce with them, but you should have a large percentage of fresh ones to go along with it, because the fresh ones will have the bacteria on it that you're going to use to ferment the peppers. So what we're going to do is we're going to chop these up, take off the stems, and then roughly chop them and put them in a food processor to get them chopped up a little finer. And then put them in a ball jar. Fill that ball jar with water. And then we'll pour the water out. We'll fill it with water, and then we will weigh it. And then we'll pour that water out and mix salt with it. And the weight we had, we'll get 2.5% of that weight, and then we'll put salt in that water that we pour out, and then get it all mixed up and return it to the peppers. But we'll see all that later in the video. I got a lot of picking to do here. Let's get that done. Well, we've got most of the red ones picked off. There's still green ones and kind of chocolate colored ones that will turn red. So we'll still have more in the future, but I think I got all that I need. That little bowl was nowhere near enough, so I got this paper bag, and it has a lot of chilies in it. I've already measured these in the bag. There's 6 pounds of chili peppers, and that's way more than I need, but let's go start processing them. Okay, let's get these peppers washed off a little bit before we get started. Well, I don't know if that's a peck of peppers, but it's close. Okay. Now let's move them over to the kitchen island. And there's our 6 pounds of chili peppers. Let's cut off the green parts and then cut them in half for further processing. This looks like fun, huh? Well, I think it's going to be a little bit faster to do this with the scissors. So I've got all the peppers cleaned up and sort of rough chopped. Now I want to chop them up a little bit finer. So we're going to put them in this food processor and do that. A little at a time, and I might have to add some water as well. Yeah, I think that's okay. Okay, we've got our pepper mash. Now let's start adding it to our fermenting jars. I'm pretty sure we've got more than enough for 1 jar, but I don't think there's going to be enough for 2, but I guess we're going to find out. Well, that looks kind of full. And this 804, that's the number of grams that this empty jar weighed. So we're going to need that information a little bit later. Let's see if we can get this other jar filled up here. Well, they didn't quite look full enough for me. So I took out my half-a-gallon bag of frozen peppers and put half in each one of these jars. So I just cut off the top. I didn't chop up or grind up the peppers, but that's okay because I want something bigger at the top anyway. So when I put this pickle pebble in, it'll hold it down better. But now, what we want to do is fill these up with water. And this is non-chlorinated water. Try to make sure that we don't have any air pockets in there, because what we want to do is we want to get the weight of this jar with the water and the peppers in. And the empty jar on this jar was 750 grams, because we're going to use that to calculate how much salt we need. So empty jar is 750 grams. The jar is full of water and pepper mash. Let's weigh the jar now and see what we have. So the jar with the water and the peppers in it is 2,555 grams. So let's subtract 750 from that. That's 1,805 grams. And now we want to take 2.5% of that. And that equals 45 grams. So I want 45 grams of salt. All right, I have 45 grams of salt, and that's kosher salt. It needs to be some salt that's not iodized. Now I want to pour off this water. It's in with these peppers, and then I want to dissolve that salt into this water. Okay, there that is. Now I'm going to take this over to the stove. Well, I'm going to put the salt in it and then take it to the stove and make sure that that salt is all dissolved. Okay, I think that salt is mostly dissolved. Let's pour this back over our peppers. So the pickle pipe goes on, and then we have the mason jar lid that we screw that down, get a good seal. Now as the peppers ferment, the seal too will come out the top. And we are going to ferment these peppers for 2 weeks. Now, because I have got that kind of full, I expect some liquid to also exit the jar. So I'm going to put it in this glass tray for those 2 weeks while the peppers are fermenting. Well, my peppers have been fermenting for 3 weeks. The initial plan was to ferment them for 2 weeks, but I got busy, and anyway, it's just going to be more better. So now we're going to continue on to process these peppers. We're going to drain all the liquid off and retain it, because we'll use some of that in the hot sauce. See if I can get the lid off here. Get that off and take the weight off. And that looks pretty good. Let's give it a smell. It smells pretty good. Let's give it a good taste as well. Nice and tart and salty. Now, this did bubble over a couple times during the fermenting process, and I cleaned up my pie pan down here a little bit, and then added a little bit more salt water to bring the liquid level back up to where it needs to be. But all is well. Now, let's see if I can get this out of here. Well, I'm going to need to get some utensils to help me. Here we go. Let's try it again. I got a spatula out. And there we go. There's our fermented pepper mash. And now we're going to put this in a blender and blend it as fine as we can. So we'll probably have to do this in batches, but let's start getting some in the blender. And we'll probably also have to add some of that juice we siphoned off or poured off, and we'll see how this goes. Let's try it without any of the juice. Oh, it's gonna need some. All right. Oh, there it is. It's a nice red color. I don't think I can get it in the camera, but let's pour some of that in there. Okay, I don't want to use any more of the juice, but I know I'm going to add vinegar, so I'm going to put a little bit of vinegar in now as well. So I have some distilled white vinegar. I'm going to put in about 1/2 cup. we go. And I'll keep blending this up one batch at a time, but let's taste what we got here. I don't want to add too much vinegar. Yep, tastes great. I'm going to need a little bit more blending on this though, but we'll just continue off camera so you don't have to listen to that. Okay, I think that batch is blended up well enough. Let's pour it out and move on to another batch. Looks nice and hot. And it is. So it took 3 batches in the blender to get that all ground up. And this is the 3rd and last batch here. Let's get this all poured into our bowl here. And we'll be sure to get out all the goodness. Now comes the longest part of this process. We're going to put that mash into this food mill and try to capture just the liquid and leave the solids behind. Now, the solids that are left behind, I'm going to put in this pan, and I'm going to dehydrate them in the oven, because when you dehydrate them and then grind them up, they make an excellent spice to put on lots of different foods. So we're going to keep it. We're going to save it all, but for the hot sauce, we just want the liquid. So this takes a while. Got this food mill here. We're going to pour a little bit in, and then we're going to spin it around to try to extract just the juice. And it's probably going to turn this plastic bowl and putting it in red. The wife probably won't like that. Anyway, this takes a while, but we'll bring you back when we got her all done. All right, so here is our hot sauce. I'm not quite sure how much is there yet, but we're gonna put it back in the blender anyway. And here is our mash. It's going to go in the oven to dehydrate and turn into a real hot and salty spice for enchiladas or eggs or anything. Okay, how much hot sauce did we get? Well, that says 4 cups. I'm going to clean this out a little bit better with the spatula, and it won't add very much, but at least 4 cups of hot sauce. Okay, so a little over 4 cups. Let's run it through the blender a little bit more. And now we're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum into it. It helps emulsify, keeps the the vinegar and the fermentation liquid and hot sauce from separating. And it also will thicken it up just a little bit. But I'm going to, I want to put it in a little bit at a time while the blender is running. So we'll get the blender started up and then add it. All right, and now all we have to do is fill our little bottles. Okay, I've poured some into this measuring cup to make it a little bit easier to fill the bottles. And I've got a little funnel here that fits in the bottles, so let's start filling them. And there is our first bottle of hot sauce. Now, I've been whipping this up with a blender, so there's some air in here right now. Over the next day or so, it'll come out of it, and then I might have to add a little bit more sauce to fill it up. But let's just keep moving on. See how many bottles I'm going to need. Number 2. So we have it in the bottles now, and now we have a little plastic cap that puts on with a little hole in it. And that just snaps right on. And then a red lid. And we've got 6 full bottles, and the 7th one not quite full, but quite a bit of hot sauce. That's going to last me a long time. And I've got another half-gallon jar of peppers fermenting. So I turned 3 pounds of hot red New Mexican chilies into a half a gallon of pepper mash, which we fermented for 3 weeks, and finally ended up with about 7 bottles of hot sauce that we will be enjoying throughout the year. And obviously, I've got this other half gallon to go. I think I'll let it ferment a little bit longer. I have more hot sauce than I have bottles, so we have to work on using some up. And I think it's hot wings for dinner tonight, so that should be good. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it that thumbs up. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time.